Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships. So I'm going to put something to you. Has this ever happened to you? Where you almost look like you're unstable or off. And the reason you look unstable is because you're trying to protect other people from the narcissistic person, but then your behavior gets judged. Think about what I'm asking here, and then we're going to get to it, because this is it was almost hard for me even to think about how to lead into this. So let's break this one down. So, as I often try to do to make my points, let's just start with a few scenarios, okay? You are co-parenting with a narcissistic person. Maybe you are still in the relationship with them, maybe you've split up. You've mastered the art of walking on eggshells, managing the narcissistic person's moods, trying to protect your children. You never sit still. You are always trying to monitor the narcissistic person's every word. You're always on edge so they don't get one more criticism in on your child. And so you may seem jumpy, always tightly wound. And over time, especially as your children get older, even they may say, yo, mom or dad or whatever, yo, you need to relax. Why are you always so tense? Another scenario. You were raised by a narcissistic parent or parents. Maybe you had a sibling who was a scapegoat and you were the truth teller or fixer, or you were constantly on edge. Perhaps you were mobilizing to try to protect your non-narcissistic parent, or protect your other siblings, particularly the scapegoated sibling, from your narcissistic parent's unrelenting abuse. Or you were gaslighted so often that you doubted yourself all the time and find yourself double or triple or quadruple checking things, school assignments, homework, things in your room, and frequently asking for reassurance, and are met with people saying to you over time, damn, you are so compulsive. You are always wasting so much time double checking stuff. It's so annoying and it's so inefficient. Another scenario. You're an adult who has narcissistic parent or parents. You might have other narcissistic family members, and every time the family gets together, you are so worried that one of your family members is going to offend someone with their words or hurt someone, so you sit on the edge of your seat and try to monitor and guide the conversation so nobody gets hurt, to get ahead of or try to prevent the mean comments or the hurtful jabs that have ruined many a birthday dinner, holiday dinner, family gathering. Maybe you even lost a new partner over this. Over time, though, people point to you and tell you that you're so controlling, and why do you have to be in the middle of every conversation? So I'm hoping the scenarios are something that are making sense of this, right? A sad legacy of narcissistic relationships, as if we need one more, is the hypervigilance and the monitoring that they result in for the people who have been stuck in them for a long time. If you have empathy and are around a narcissistic person, you may find yourself always trying to protect other people from their hurtful words, to try and stave off conflict, or just waste time plagued with the worry and self-doubt created by their gaslighting, and become really inefficient, or always second-guessing yourself about everything as an adult, and become quite anxious as a result. The cruelty of this is that other people, since most people do not understand narcissistic relationships, start viewing you as the one who has an issue, because you're being anxious, eggshelly, on the edge of your seat, never relaxing, may often mean that you actually succeed and get ahead of the narcissistic person, but you look wound up. You may be protecting them from the narcissist, but instead they view you as the one who is anxious, edgy, neurotic, or controlling. These relationships are what we call chronic double binds, which is just a way of saying these are situations in which you cannot win. Because it is often this portraying you as controlling or anxious or whatever, compulsive. It's often an inaccurate characterization of you as wound up and anxious, though you are more anxious than you would be if life hadn't handed you this toxic relationship. That in fact, without this relationship around, you're actually quite full of equanimity and serenity, except when you're around these relationships. And people will unfairly paint a picture of you that isn't you. It also serves to keep the narcissistic person in their dominant position, because they will often chuckle, oh, haha, yeah, my neurotic daughter, huh? Or my controlling ex. They're a piece of work, aren't they? It doesn't feel good because it's really not true. One of the struggles, especially if this is your parents, is that as a child, and this is especially true for those truth tellers, helpers, and fixers, as a child, your behavior was about safety. As an adult, your behavior is sort of a relic of that time, but it's a hard pattern to break. It's pretty hardwired. As a child, you may have felt that the world would be devastated if your parents had one more loud fight. As an adult, it can be hard to shift into the mindset of, I'm getting out of this damned room. Let these people see this toxic behavior for what it is and make their own goddamn choice. And make their own damn choices. But this is harder if it's your own children whom you rightfully want to protect. And this pattern can feel 1,000 times worse if you had to do this dance in childhood. And not only still have to do it with your own parent or parents, but now you have to do it with your co-parent. And to the world, to be seen as compulsive or anxious or controlling is not a good feeling. It feels like one more gaslight, one more time when reality and who you are is not only being denied, but you're being portrayed as somehow being impaired or off or just too much. There isn't an easy path forward. If it's only adults involved, to parents and stuff like that, to slowly break that pattern, which isn't easy to do because it's so mired in trauma and attachment stuff, and then get out of that situation. It's not your job to protect another adult, right? If it's children, it's a bumpier path because you do want to protect them, especially since you often weren't, and you know that your protection can go a long way for them and they can't protect themselves. But when it comes down to it, it's about you knowing you. It's convenient to write off the people who are or were harmed by the narcissistic person as the ones with the issue. But actually, that's just a way of maintaining the status quo, isn't it? And folks telling a more convenient story than having to look into the abyss or look into themselves. I have seen this happen with so many people who say, I am literally on the edge of my seat throughout a whole dinner trying to stop the narcissistic person from hurting other people's feelings. And by the end of the dinner, maybe your work paid off. That narcissistic person doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. But you, in all your kinds of machinations to try to stop it from happening, may have looked intrusive and anxious and tightly wound. You may have achieved your goal, but the downstream effect of being painted as someone who's just overly anxious or overly neurotic, it doesn't feel good. And you may feel like no matter which way I turn, it seems like somehow I'm getting hurt in these relationships. If this has happened to you, drop it in the comments, but it's a pretty common phenomenon. Thanks again.